It's funny where you can find a really detailed story. You probably wouldn't think to look inside a formal government document, but that's exactly where we're headed today. We're going to dive into the official rulebook for a chicken's welfare, and believe me, it lays out in incredible detail what it actually means to raise a chicken right.
So that brings us to a question that, let's be honest, sounds a little weird at first. What rights does a chicken have? I mean, it's not something we think about every day, but the answer is surprisingly specific. In fact, it's legally defined, and it forms the entire foundation for how millions of these animals are treated, right from the moment they hatch. And that foundation has a name: the 5 basic freedoms. You can pretty much think of it as a Bill of Rights, but for animals. And this isn't just some nice, fluffy idea. It's the core ethical principle that guides every single rule we're about to get into. And when you look at them, wow, they are incredibly comprehensive. They cover everything from the absolute basics, food and water, to their physical health and even their psychological well-being. Think about that: the freedom to act like a chicken and the freedom from fear. These 5 points are basically the why behind all the nitty-gritty regulations to come. So, how do you take these big, noble ideas and make them, well, real? How do you make them enforceable? That is where the official rulebook comes in. It's the tool that turns these principles into actual law. And here it is, Administrative Order Number 12. This is the legal framework. And the most crucial point is right there in the definition. See, it's not just about animal welfare. The code explicitly says that this is about improving agricultural productivity too. The whole idea is that a better quality of life for the chickens leads directly to a better, higher quality product for us. Okay, so to really understand how this works in practice, we're going to follow a chicken's life from the very beginning to the very end and see how these rules pop up at every single stage. And it all starts in the first 72 hours, a period that the regulations cover with, frankly, incredible precision. A brand new chick has to be handled gently, it needs food within 2 days, and it must be in a proper brooder with water within 3 days. And let me be clear, these are not suggestions. They are strict, non-negotiable timelines to make sure these chicks get the best possible start. And this slide right here perfectly illustrates just how detailed these rules get. We're not just talking about flicking on a light switch. The code specifies the exact light intensity measured in lux at different stages of a chicken's life. So you see, it starts out bright, 60 lux, so the little chicks can find food and water. Then it dims way down to just 5 lux to manage their growth. Then it brightens again later in life. It's all carefully managed. And it's the same for the very air they breathe. The rules set these hard limits on harmful gases. For example, ammonia has to stay below 20 parts per million. Anything higher than that, and you are officially in the danger zone. It just proves that welfare isn't just about what you can see, it's about managing the entire invisible environment to keep them healthy. So, with all these conditions to meet, how do you make sure it's all actually being done? Well, there's a very simple but really powerful rule. Every single flock, every day, has to be physically inspected by a person, at least once. This ensures that any problem, a sick bird, a broken piece of equipment, bad air, gets spotted and fixed right away. Now, beyond what farmers must do, the code is also crystal clear about what they must not do. It lays out a whole list of practices that are considered completely unacceptable. And this list is, well, it's specific. Things like surgical castration, devocalization, or any kind of de-winging are just flat out banned. Even the equipment they use is regulated. See that last one? If blinkers are used to keep birds from pecking each other, they can't be the kind that actually injures the bird. These rules draw a very hard line against anything deemed unnecessarily cruel. Sometimes the language of the law itself is the most powerful thing. This is a direct quote from the order, and it doesn't pull any punches. It explicitly calls out hanging a chicken upside down for a long time as causing unreasonable or unnecessary pain. It's such a clear protection against a specific cruel way of handling them. And even for practices that are permitted, the rules are incredibly strict. Take beak trimming. It's only allowed for one reason: to stop birds from hurting each other. But look at the regulations. The code dictates who can do it, when it has to be done, exactly how much can be removed, and the one and only reason why you can do it in the first place. It's a perfect example of regulating something that's maybe a necessary evil to minimize harm as much as possible. Now, these regulations don't just stop at the farm gate. Nope. They follow the chickens all the way to their final journey, governing every single aspect of their transport. This whole process is managed step by step, all to minimize stress. It starts with the fasting period, but they still get fresh water. The chickens are herded gently, usually at night when it's cooler and they're calmer. They have to be handled by their legs, put in properly designed crates, and protected from crazy weather during the trip. And there's another one of those hard limits. During that entire trip, from the farm to the destination, a chicken cannot be kept in a transport crate for more than 24 hours. That is a crucial safeguard against prolonged suffering during what is, let's face it, a really stressful time for the animal. So, okay, we've looked at all these incredibly specific details, from air quality to beak trimming. Let's zoom out for a second and ask the big question. Why does all of this matter? What's the big picture here? And what do you know? We come full circle, right back to these 5 freedoms. Every single rule we just talked about, the timeline for a chick's first drink, the lighting schedule, the ban on de-winging, every one of them is just a practical way to enforce one of these core principles. The rules are the how, but these ethical freedoms are the why. And this really brings us to the most important takeaway. The entire code is built on this idea that good animal welfare and good business are not fighting each other. In fact, they're directly linked. The bottom line is taking better care of the animals results in a better, safer product for all of us. Which leads to one final really important question. Science, our understanding of animal behavior, it's always evolving. So how does a legal document from back in 2002 possibly keep up? Well, the answer is pretty amazing. It's found right in the document itself. The code actually acknowledges its own limitations. It says it's based on the knowledge and technology at the time of publication. That's the rulebook itself, admitting that it's just a snapshot in time, and that it's designed to be a living document. And that leaves us with the idea that defining welfare isn't some finish line we cross, but an ongoing journey of learning and improving.